You know, AI is just everywhere now, right? And the classroom is definitely no exception. It feels like some schools are just straight up banning tools like ChatGPT, while others are scrambling to figure out how to use them. So, where's the line? When does a helpful assistant turn into just cheating? To get a handle on this, we're going to look at a really interesting new framework that's trying to answer that exact question. I mean, this is the $1 million question, isn't it? Can you just let an AI write your essay for you now? The answer, well, it's not a simple yes or no. It's actually a lot more interesting than that. So, to get some real answers, we're going to dive into the official guidelines from a university in Germany, Hochschule Darmstadt. They are tackling this thing head on. And what they've come up with is this surprisingly clear, super practical framework for how to actually use these powerful new tools, ethically and without getting in trouble. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the university's basic idea behind all this. Then, we'll get into the one golden rule you absolutely have to follow. After that, we'll talk about why you, and only you, are responsible for what the AI spits out, when these tools can get banned, and finally, why you've got to be open about how you're using them. Okay, so first things first, this university's goal isn't to stop AI, not at all. It's to embrace it. Their whole policy starts from this idea that a school's job is to get you ready for a career. And let's be real, in today's world, that means you have to know how to use all the cutting edge stuff. And that includes AI, the right way. Okay, so this brings us to the absolute core of it all. This is the big one, the principle that pretty much governs everything else. And it's this: your own work, your own brainpower has to be the star of the show. So the whole policy is built around this German term schöpferische Leistung. It basically translates to creative contribution. And listen, this isn't about counting who wrote more words, you or the AI. It's about who did the thinking. It means your ideas, the way you structure your argument, your unique analysis. That has to be the foundation. That's what makes the final thing fundamentally yours. Okay, that sounds really good in theory, right? Creative contribution, awesome. But what does that actually mean when you're sitting there trying to write a paper? Well, the policy breaks it down into 4 really clear pillars. And honestly, this framework is pretty broad. It kind of starts from a place of yes. It says, hey, all tools are allowed. Calculators, apps, AI, whatever, as long as your work is the main event. But, and this is a big but, it balances that freedom with the usual rules of good scientific practice. And it adds some new, very modern responsibilities. Like, you have to think about the ethics of the AI itself, the rights of the people whose work was used to train it. And you have to respect copyright and privacy in what you feed into it. I love this quote because it just nails the whole mindset shift, doesn't it? The tool isn't thinking for you, you're thinking with the help of the tool. You are always, always in the driver's seat. And that idea, being in the driver's seat, that leads us straight to the next big point. You are completely and totally accountable for this stuff. I mean, we've all seen this happen, right? An AI can produce this beautiful, well-written text, but it can also be just confidently, completely wrong about something. And the university's policy is super realistic about these risks. So the responsibility is all on you to be the final editor, the fact checker, and even the ethicist. We know AI makes factual mistakes, so you gotta fact check every single claim. It's famous for just making up sources. We call those hallucinations. So you have to be the one to verify everything. And get this, it can also repeat biases from its data or even plagiarize stuff without you knowing it. That means you are the last line of defense. So the bottom line is there's zero ambiguity here. You absolutely cannot say, oops, the AI got that wrong. Nope. If you submit that work, that mistake is now your mistake. The buck stops with you. 100%. Okay, so we've established the general rule is tools are allowed. But, as always, there's a catch. It's not the whole story. The university is also really clear about specific times when that rule just doesn't apply. So the starting point, the default, is one of trust. They're saying all tools are okay to use to help you learn. Unless, and this is a big unless your professor specifically says no. They get the final say if they think using a tool would actually get in the way of a learning goal. Like if they want you to learn a core skill completely from scratch. But a professor can't just ban a tool on a whim. To keep things fair, they have to be totally transparent about it. Any restrictions have to be announced right at the beginning of the course. And, this is key, they have to explain why. They need to give a clear reason for the ban. It's all about making sure the rules are clear for everyone from day one. All right, so we've talked about what you can use and who's on the hook for it. The last piece of this whole puzzle is transparency. You've got to be upfront about what you're doing and what tools you're using. And the policy has kind of two levels for this. First, for any big official assignment, you have to formally declare that your creative contribution was the main part of the work. Then, for other stuff, it's highly recommended that you just document which tools you used and what you used them for. You could put it in an appendix or just a little note. So why bother with all that? Well, it's not about trying to catch you or get you in trouble. It's just about having a clear record. That way, if your professor ever has a question about your process, you've got it all written down. It just makes for a much better conversation. It's basically a way to protect yourself by being open. So when you boil it all down, what this policy really gives us is a new blueprint for academic honesty, right? For this age of AI. It's simple, really. Number one, your work has to be mostly your own. Number two, you are 100% responsible for the final product. And number three, just be honest about the tools that helped you get there. Look, this framework is super clear, and it's a great start, but it also leaves us with this huge kind of philosophical question to chew on, right? As these tools get more and more tangled up in how we think and work, what does original thought even mean anymore? How is our definition of that going to change? And, just as a final cool point, in the spirit of all this, the university actually published their entire policy under a Creative Commons license. They're basically inviting other schools and universities to take it, adapt it, and build on it. It's like, hey, this is a challenge for all of us, so let's solve it together.